Alright, before we get started today, a few announcements. First off, as you probably can tell, I have barely done a video the past 2 weeks. Basically, got a bit burnt out on Magic, and then I caught a Path to Exile bug, so I kind of played that game a bit too much. But the bug has now passed, so I'm back to normal, more or less, right now. So what you can look forward to now is a daily video every single day, but it will not be entirely only Magic content. I will also bring in some other card game content as well. Basically because I do enjoy more than one game actually. Anyway, let's move on. In today's video, I'm gonna have a look at the results from the latest tournament in MTG Standard. Now this one is gonna be the SCG Open Indianapolis, which was played, what day is it today? 28? I think it's 28 today. Anyway, this is the one we're going to have a look at, and we're going to look at the decks that were played and see what is currently working in a standard environment. I was going to do a video about the MTG online results, but then I saw the Indianapolis was coming up, so I waited. And yeah, let's just do it right now and see what is currently in fashion. Alright, before we get started, I'm not gonna go through like every single card and explain what they do. Most of them, people already know what they do, and that would take far too long. I'm just gonna give an overview of the decks that were actually played at the top end of this tournament. So first off, we have Sultai Aggro. This is the Golgari package with blue splashed in for the, what is it called? This one, the Jellyfish Hydra Beast. As I said, this was going to be a really big card, and it's proven in multiple tournaments now to be actually really good. I saw it quite a lot when I looked at the MTG Online tournament as well, and now that we have a proper physical event to actually look at, we can actually conclude that this card is really, really good. Often when you look at MTG Online tournaments, they tend to be a bit low quality, and the decks tends to not be as fine-tuned as once you get to the Grand Prix. Now obviously this is not the Wizardy Coast Grand Prix, but the SCG Open, but it's a good tournament nonetheless. Right, so apart from the Jellyfish Hydra Beast, nothing in this deck is really that new. We have the standard Jade Light Ranger with the whole Explore package. There is a Carnage Tyrant in here, but only two now, with the Jellyfish Hydra Beast thingy now taking the main spot of the deck. And there's a single copy of a Hostage Taker, which, I mean, it's a good card, it's real annoying to play against, and when you have a lot of mana, this is going to be real annoying, and you can quite easily take something big. I wonder, you can probably take your opponent's Jelly Hydra Beast and draw quite a lot of cards with Hostage Taker. That must be real annoying to play against. But besides the Hostage and the Jelly blah 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 thingy, there's nothing really new in here. Vivian Reed, the usual fine finality removal package, but apart from that there's nothing really interesting in the main board. Now I'm not going to go complete load the sideboards because that would take far too long. I mean, you should know that sideboards, they are just ways to configure your deck to work against more than one deck, and this is also why I am looking forward to the best of 3 that is going to come out for Arena in a couple of days. Alright, let's take a look at the second deck, which is going to be the Grixis Drake's deck. Now this is basically the old Drake deck, but the new Drake, not Drake, is this a Drake? Yes, it is a Drake. I was going to say Dragon for a moment there, but this new Drake has made it into the deck. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing much to say about this. This is pretty much the old Drake deck with the new Drake taking over the spot from, what is he called? Arc-like Phoenix, and the Goblin that reduced all spell cost by 1, or instants and sorceries. Right, next deck is going to be Esper Midrange. Now, this is actually a really interesting deck because it's not like just a little modification of old decks. This is pretty much a whole new deck. And what do we have in this deck? Well, we actually have Doan the Grand Arbiter. So we actually have the Planeswalker that I was not too hyped about. And well, it seems like it did okayish in this tournament. Now, what about the instance and sorcery spells? Well, there's nothing really odd in here. We have Discovery, Disperse, we have Thought Erasure, and a new Mortify, which is an amazing card. I mean, destroy target creature or enchantment. It is basically a better murder, assuming you can fit white into your deck. Obviously, if you're playing Gogaria or Sultai, you're not gonna be able to fit Mortify into your deck, but otherwise, this is like an auto-include, assuming you run those colors. The rest of the deck is quite interesting when it comes to the creatures. Thief of Sanity, really annoying creature. Like once it gets going, it becomes really annoying to play against. We have the Separan of the Scales. This is one of the cards I was really wrong about. Probably the only card I was really wrong about in my preview of the Mythics. I didn't think this card would see this much play. It had a couple of showing in the MTG online tournaments, but I didn't think it would be like this valued. Although one of the things I did kind of miss when I did my overview was the fact that it had Afterlife 2. I kind of didn't see that, but it's not really excuse for playing down this card. Just a second. We are just waiting for a truck to pass by. It's almost done. Come on, trucky, you can do it. Please don't stop right outside. Are you really gonna stop outside? No, okay, he's gone. Alright, let's continue. Now, the rest of the deck, what do we have? Lura Dawnbringer, we have Hostage Taker. This is probably gonna become a meta card now. Like, it was already good beforehand, but it didn't really have a deck that was a tier 1 deck that it could fit in. Like, there's nothing wrong with this card, but that you didn't have a good deck for him, and now you actually have decent decks with obviously more colors to actually play. Well, not more colors, more cards. Sorry, that track really got me off track. Anyway, let's move on to the hero of the Prescience one. Prescient? I have no idea how to pronounce that. I'm gonna look it up afterwards. Anyway, what about this card? Well, it is amazing. You get a token every time you cast a multicolor spell, and now with triple color decks becoming the new norm, this card is gonna see quite a lot of play. Especially if we can get a really good token deck that has a lot of multicast or multicolor spell to use. Obviously, with things like Mortify, we'll keep it in somewhat check, but still, it's a really good card. Anyway, the final card in this deck is going to be the Deputy of Detention. This is an exile card on legs. It exiles target permanent on the field and all permanents with the same name, which means it kind of ruins tokens completely until he returns or until he leaves the battlefield. Then you get your permanent back. But obviously with tokens, once they get exiled, well, they're gone. They're not coming back. They're never coming back. Apparently the truck is coming back though. I mean, come on, truck. Don't be like that. Yeah, the truck is still here. I'm still waiting on it. It's the snow truck. Come on. Move along. I should have shoveled more. Come on, little truck. You can do it. Alright, he's gone again. Let's go. Let's go fast. Anyway, next deck is gonna be Esper Control. Now, I'm not gonna take any time going through this deck at all. Like, it's your standard Teferi control deck. Now with even more removals. Now with Wrath. Now with Mortify. What else is there to say? It's a standard control deck. Remove all your things and eventually kill you with Teferi. Or in this case, he actually has the mutable as well. So yeah, this guy, probably not too many friends. I mean, yeah, this is your standard control deck. There's nothing to say. Let's move on. And we're moving on to Winnie Whites. Now, there are a couple of new cards in this one, but most of these are like your old classics. We have the creature, well, we have 29 creatures, so this is pretty much your standard White Winnie deck. Marshal to buff all the other creatures. Then we have the standard Bodyguard. There's a Healer Hawk, Witness. There's the Taker. This one is actually new, and this one is really annoying to play against. During your turn, spell your opponent cost 1 more to cast, An ability opponent activate costs 1 more to activate unless they are mana ability. Afterlife 1. Like, this is a really annoying card to play against. Now, luckily enough, it only has 1 toughness, so it does actually die to Chain Whirler, but Chain Whirler seems to have been like left in the dust. I think I saw one deck running Chain Whirler in the MTG Online tournament, but that's about it. So yeah, poor mono red. The rest of the deck is what you can expect. The Loxodon, this is a staple card now. Like, it's so good. Like, you should probably own 4 copies of this if you're ever planning to include white in any deck. Maybe not white red, but that's like the only instance I would not auto include this if you play like a creature deck that can run white. Let's finish off the creatures with the Deputy of Detention. We already know what this one actually does. Exile anything on the field. Once he leaves the field, that thing comes back unless it's a token. But yeah, this deck looks actually kind of fun to play. Now, sadly, if you're going to play this deck, you're going to have to chill out quite a lot of rare cards. While in physical money, this would cost you 249, and Esper Control would cost you 572. So in the physical game, this would be quite cheap to run, but on MTG Arena, well, this would take quite a while to get this full deck because there are so many rare cards in this one. Like, we have History of Benalia and Legion Landing. Yeah, I know History of Benalia is a mythic card, but yeah, whatever. This deck actually looks kind of fun to play. Anyway, let's move on, and we're moving on to another Esper Control deck, and just as with the last one, not gonna really waste any time on this. It is your standard remove everything and eventually win with Teferi or with Immutable. This seems to be another guy that has no friends. Ugh, using Mutable, disgusting. Anyway, let's move on to Band Control. Alright, so Band Control. Now this one is kind of interesting for a control deck because it actually has creatures, which is kind of rare for control decks. Obviously with the new Mystic, which is basically a counterspell on legs, you can include a few more creatures. Now, surprisingly enough, this runs 4 Angel of Grace. I'm really curious to actually see how this played out, because 4 Angel of Grace, I don't know, it sounds kind of weird. Obviously the card is really good, but I didn't expect to actually see anyone play all 4 copies. Like, I would probably throw in a Sphinx here. Like, at least 2 maybe, and split them up. I don't feel like you need all 4 Angel of Grace, but yeah, I mean, I never said that this card was bad, but I didn't expect to see 4 copies of it. Not when you can run Dawnbringers. Of course, as a control deck, you want to be able to flash it in on your opponent's turn, but 4 seems kind of high. Now, the really interesting card in this deck is the Growth Chamber Guardian. If you go and look at the MTG Online lists, then this card was everywhere. Like, this card is going to become a staple card, almost guaranteed. It allows you to thin your deck and is really cheap to play. What it does is whenever you adapt or whenever it gets a +1/+1 counter, you can go and grab another one from your deck. So it grows larger, it has a good base stat, and it thins your deck. Like, what more could you want? This card is really good, and I would strongly recommend to go and craft this right now. At the very least, it is a fun card. Anyway, let's move on to the deck that actually won this first tournament. I'm gonna call this the first legit standard tournament that was played in the new format. Not new format, but new rotation, whatever. So, the first place deck is gonna be a Sultai aggro deck. Now, we pretty much have seen this entire deck already. The first Sultai aggro that plays 5 to 8 already spoiled this deck for us, because this is pretty much the same deck. This is Gogaria, now with splashed blue to get the Hydroid Crasis, the jellyfish thingy. I'm gonna call him jellyfish thingy from now on. But the deck is obviously working really well. Now, Gogaria was already the go-to deck for anyone if you wanted a good, solid, reliable tier 1 deck. While Drakes are really good, especially in best of ones for MTG Arena, they were never the consistency of a Gogaria deck just because it's so hard to actually make a Gogaria deck run out of threats. Like they always find a way, and now with the jellyfish thingy, like they are never gonna run out of threats like ever. They're just gonna keep drawing. Drakes actually could, in theory, run out of threats eventually and just sit there. And I think the truck is back. Mr. Truck, do you mind? Keep go. Never go. Anyway, that's everything for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you in the next one. This is Project signing out. Truck, you still there? Truck? No, okay, you're gone now. Of course you're gone now. Oh, hello, cat. What's up?